This clip is part of the CycloZeal Library and is shared for educational purposes only. It should not be considered medical or individual coaching advice. Please train responsibly. Consult a healthcare professional if unsure. Participation is voluntary and at your own risk.
All right, let's talk heart rate zones for cycling. You've probably heard people throw around terms like zone 2 or threshold training, right? Well, today we're going to break down what all that actually means when you're out there on the bike. We're going to keep it simple and practical. Because let's be real for a second. The numbers and the percentages on your bike computer are one thing. But the big question is, what does each zone feel like? How do you know you're in it? That's what this is all about. Translating that data into what you feel in your legs and your lungs.
So, at the most basic level, heart rate zones are just a way to measure your effort. That's it. It's not about how fast you're going compared to your buddy. It's a personal gauge of your intensity, and it's all based on a percentage of your maximum heart rate.
Okay, before we really dive into the different zones, we've got to get a quick but really important disclaimer out of the way.
So, look, everything we're talking about here is for educational purposes. Everybody's body is different, which means your heart rate is going to respond differently than someone else's. So please, whatever you do, never compare your heart rate numbers with other riders. The number one rule always is to listen to your body.
All right, with that covered, let's start our climb. We're going to begin at the bottom with the foundation of pretty much all endurance training, zones 1 and 2.
First up, we've got Zone 1. This is your active recovery zone. We're talking a super light effort, sitting at about 60 to 65% of your max heart rate.
And what does that feel like? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. Very easy. This is that relaxed spin where you can have a full-on, comfortable conversation without even thinking about your breathing. This is your perfect coffee right pace.
Moving on up to Zone 2. Here we bump the intensity just a little bit to about 65 to 75% of your max. You'll hear this called the endurance zone, or even the fat-burning zone.
The feeling here is still really comfortable. Yeah, you're working, but your breathing is steady, and you could probably hold this pace for hours. And you can still easily chat with your friends. This right here, this is the absolute cornerstone for building a big aerobic engine.
And why are these zones so critical? Trust me, these are not junk miles. This is where you support recovery, you make your body way more efficient at using oxygen and fat for fuel, and you train those slow-twitch muscle fibers that you need for going long.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation. Now it's time to pick up the pace a bit as we get into the tempo and threshold stuff of zones 3 and 4. And you can really feel the difference now. We're moving from easy, full conversations to only being able to get out shorter, clipped sentences. The effort is definitely noticeable, and you can hold it for a good chunk of time, but not for hours and hours like you could in Zone 2. So, welcome to Zone 3. This is your tempo zone. We're pushing it up to 75 to 82% of your max heart rate. This is what most people would call a brisk or purposeful pace.
And that's exactly how it feels. Your breathing gets deeper, and yeah, you can still talk, but you're only managing a few words at a time. The social hour is officially over.
Now things are getting serious. We're in Zone 4, the threshold zone. This is between 82 and 89% of your max. This is hard. It's controlled, but it is hard work, right at your limit.
At this point, your breathing is heavy. Talking? Yeah, that's not really happening. To hold this effort, you need real mental focus. It's uncomfortable, for sure, but this zone is absolutely key if you want to raise your fitness level.
All right, time to go for the summit. We're heading into the top-end zones. These are the short, sharp, really intense efforts. We're talking zones 5 and 6.
Zone 5 is your VO2 max zone. We're up at 89 to 94% of max heart rate. There's nowhere to hide here. This is where it really truly starts to hurt. These are tough efforts that you can only hang on to for a few minutes at a time.
And finally, we have Zone 6. This is basically everything from 94% all the way up to your absolute max. You've got to think all-out sprints, attacking a steep little climb. This is just pure explosive anaerobic power.
But, and this is a huge but, for these super short, explosive efforts, your heart rate monitor is actually not a very good guide. It just takes too long for your heart to catch up to the effort, and by the time it does, the sprint is already over.
So for Zone 6, what should you use instead? It's much better to go by how hard it feels. That's your perceived effort. And if you have them, a power meter or even just your speed are way better indicators for a true all-out effort.
So there you have it. We've gone through all the zones, from a chill recovery spin to a flat-out sprint. But just knowing what they are is only half the battle, right? Knowing how to use this stuff safely, that's what really counts.
And this next part is completely non-negotiable.
If you're over, say, 35 or 40, if you're just getting back into exercise after a long time off, or if you have any medical issues at all, you need to get clearance from a doctor before you start doing high-intensity training in zones 4, 5, or 6. I'm serious. Your health always comes before performance.
So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all boil down to? It's really these three things. Train smart by actually understanding what each effort should feel like, build the base, spending plenty of time in those lower zones, and finally, you have to respect recovery. That's how your body adapts and gets stronger. Get those three things right, and you're on your way.